Oh baby! Double Tribal Council means that we have a lot to analyze about Survivor 50 Episode 5 as we head into the merge of the season with 17 players remaining. So, I'm going to create an Edgic analysis rating for every player remaining in the season and create a contender ranking from least to most likely to win the season based on how I think they have been edited so far. My analytics show that about 80% of you guys aren't subscribed. What's the deal? Click that subscribe button and the bell. Helps out the channel a lot for more Edgic goodness. Also, as always, please refrain from discussing any sort of spoilers about the future of the season in the comments below. If you know anything about spoilers, please just try not to engage at all. Would really appreciate it. But before we hop into things, if you still don't know how Edgic works, basically we are going to create a chart that looks a lot like this and give each player an Edgic rating based on 3 different criteria that we use to give them their individual rating. The first part of an Edgic rating is the type of edit. There are 4 different types of edits. It can either be UTR, which stands for under the radar, which means you didn't see very much of them. They can be MOR, which stands for middle of the road, which means you saw a decent amount of them, but they weren't super fleshed out as a character. It can be CP, which stands for complex personality, which means they got a good amount of content and they were pretty fleshed out as a character. Or it can be OTT, which stands for over the top, which means you saw way too much of them to an overly characterized extent. There's also INV, which is invisible, which means they just weren't in the episode at all. The second part of an Edgic rating is the tone of the edit. This is an extra letter tacked on to the Edgic rating. It can be a P for a positive leaning tone, an N for a negative leaning tone, an M for a mixed tone, which means a little bit of both, or just no letter added on, nothing extra at all, which is just a neutral, no tone whatsoever, leaning either way. And finally, the number in every Edgic rating is a visibility scale from 1 to 5 on how much screen time they got in the episode. 1 for you barely saw them at all, 5 for you saw them way too much. And without further ado, let's talk about the episode. I'll give just my general episode thoughts first before we hop into talking about things. Pretty good episode. I enjoyed this episode a lot. I think it's definitely one of the best of the season so far. Maybe the best episode since the premiere. I feel like there was a lot of juice to squeeze out of this episode. A lot of really complex personalities going on here. And relationships between people that I found very interesting. And the tribals I thought were really fun. I think it was handled pretty well. Of course, we lose Angelina and Charlie here, which I can say, oh my goodness, does it feel sweet? I freaking predicted this exactly. When I knew there was double tribe, I think it's going to be Angelina and it's going to be Charlie. And I freaking nailed it. I got them both right. I knew that the teal tribe was going to win and that those two were going to get voted out. I mean, like, oh, this was such a win. This was a big win for my predictions on the season. I had a lot of fun with it. Angelina in a tough spot. Unfortunate to see her go. We didn't get a ton from her this season. But in terms of the Charlie Tribal Council, I thought it was a really fun tribal. I really enjoyed. I feel like there was a good amount of, being upset, but also respecting the game. Like, I think that, you could see that Charlie was kind of devastated about it, but also, I like that he goes over and, congratulates Rizo on the move. Also, I love the faces from Jonathan. His eyes were like popping out of his skull when he realized that Charlie was getting voted out. And I love Rick Devens. Like, leans over to Charlie, or he leans over to Rizo while Charlie's leaving. He was like, good job. Like I think that he was impressed. He was like, and I think while Rick Devens was voting, it seemed like he said some sort of swear or something when he was putting the thing in the jar. So I think it seemed like he didn't really want to vote out Rizo, but it was just sort of what he thought he had to do because he was not in the not in the majority group. And so I think that he was a little bit like, okay, that was sick. I don't love that I was left out of the vote here, but I'm happy Rizo's still around. I didn't really mind Charlie getting voted out. This worked out pretty well. I think he was kind of, I thought that was just kind of fun interactions there. I will say, a little bit strange that we only talked to the men in that tribal council. I don't think we heard from D or Cirie or Kamilla at all in that tribal council. Maybe because they were trying to not give away that it was obviously going to be Charlie getting voted out, but I did think that was a little bit strange. But regardless, I still feel like a pretty fun tribal and good stuff going on overall. I got a lot of talk about the edit analysis of a lot of these people here. So without further ado, let's talk about our fallen comrades that were voted out here today, and then we'll get into giving my thoughts and Edgic ratings on every person in the season. Angelina, not too surprising to see her go here. She didn't get a great edit, pretty under the radar edit overall here. And she still really does not get a lot of screen time in this episode. I mean, listen, she was my bottom contender coming off of the first episode. So I saw this coming eventually. I've been pretty much predicting that Angelina was going to get voted out since day zero. So, I mean, the fact that she lasted this long, honestly was kind of surprising to me. But yeah, I mean, she just didn't get a ton of play. It's unfortunate because I do love Angelina. I thought she was really fun on David versus Goliath. But I also think that, like, to an extent, whether it was the way she was acting or the way the editors were feeling about her, either way, we just weren't getting that much from her. I do think that there was probably stuff cut out that could have been fun Angelina moments we didn't get to see. But at the end of the day, it kind of, other people have said, it kind of felt like she became too self-aware. And she was kind of like, I don't want to say she was playing too good of a game, but she kind of was like, she was kind of too good. Like, she just like, wasn't doing anything crazy, wasn't doing anything impressive, but also wasn't doing anything catastrophically terrible. So it kind of just wasn't much to give for Angelina, I guess, on this season. It's an expected boot. It was pretty inevitable. I would have rather it been Ozzy or Stephenie personally, but I will take this. It's the way it's got to go. And I will give Angelina this. She looked great out there. Oh my gosh, she looked fantastic. I mean, I know she's got like the lashes on or whatever, but man, I mean, she is, talk about a glow up. She has been just radiating both on the island and off recently. She's just really had a great energy to her, physically and spiritually, I guess. So love that for Angelina. I hope that she comes away from this still with a positive attitude. I think in terms of her edit rating in this episode, if we take a look at the confessional charts here provided by Just Strategic on Twitter, she gets 2 confessionals in this episode. I mean, it's not a lot. I don't think I probably would want to give her under the radar. I do think she was talked about enough, but it really was, I mean, it wasn't a ton. I probably would give her the same rating I gave her last week, middle of the road too. Like, she was there. She talked a little bit. We heard a little bit about her kind of being in the middle, whatever. I don't think it's enough to give her complex personality. I don't think it was negative, though, in the way that, like, some of her other episodes were. It kind of feels like it was just kind of neutral to me. Like, she was there, deciding things, not getting dunked on too much. It was really more all about what was going on with the other people in the tribe rather than her. She was just kind of collateral damage, I guess. So, nothing too crazy here for Angelina. Charlie does get the much more interesting boot of the two. I will say, in terms of my feelings on Charlie, I feel like this was a good spot for him to go out. I think he had a fun story. And listen, I called it last week. I said I'm like almost 100% sure Charlie's going to go out next week. And he did. And I think it was a pretty good arc. And I will say, as someone, I will admit, I have not been the biggest Charlie fan in the past. I was rooting for Kenzie to win on his season. I was not overly thrilled when I heard that he was going to be on season 50. But honestly, he really impressed me. I actually really enjoyed Charlie on this season. And I think kind of my message to any Charlie doubters out there is that I feel like we got exactly what we could have wanted from him here. He had an interesting character, an interesting storyline and an arc over the course of his journey on this season. He actually, I felt like on his season, he was kind of just like a guy that was there to me. Like, he was just kind of a normal guy that was there with all this crazy stuff going on. And I was kind of like, why is like this is the guy that gets to go all the way to the end? He's kind of just some guy. He was never too hot, never too cold, which I mean is good in the game, but not like overly impressive. And it was just kind of like solid, just a guy that was there. But on this season, it was not that. We saw like the unhinged, just like mental snap Rizo rivalry Cirie this season that I actually really enjoyed. I like Cirie on this season a lot more than his previous season. I feel like he provided character and story more so than I got from him on 46. And then he doesn't stay too long. He still goes out pre-merge. It's pretty much exactly what I could have wanted from him. Honestly, it's even better than if he got voted out first, because now my feelings are actually up on Cirie based on where they were before. So, Cirie, good on you, man. I think you provided some good content this time. And, I'm still not like the biggest Cirie fan for sure. I've been, not in the Cirie boat in the past, but I enjoyed him this season. I feel like I've got exactly what I could have possibly wanted from Cirie this season. I don't think there could have possibly been a better arc for Cirie on this season for me. Not the biggest Cirie fan. If you're a big Cirie fan, maybe this was disappointing for you. But for me, I'm happy. Good job, Cirie. In terms of Cirie's edit in this episode, I definitely think it was negative tone. I mean, it felt like a lot of people kind of dunking on him. He's sneaky. He's the dumbest player out here. He's untrustworthy. He's, playing too slow. He's playing like just this was a lot of negativity for Cirie. I am in between. I think it really could be a lot of different ratings. I kind of want to go over the top negative here, honestly, because it just felt like there was so much bashing on him. I don't think there were like super over the toppy moments, but I do think like this just obsessive rivalry with Rizo has been painted very over the top over the course of the season thus far, and it kind of finally blows up in a spectacular way. So although it wasn't like a super over the top episode, I feel like it's representational of that whole story. Like, it was the climax of that rivalry, and that felt like an over the top story to me. Let's take a look. Oh, Angelina, I got 2 confessionals. I don't know if I said that. I think I did. Cirie also gets 2 confessionals here. So I'm kind of thinking an over-the-top -3 is my opinion on Cirie. He wasn't in it a ton, but there was a lot of talk about him, and definitely very negative. I'm not like super confident in that rating, but that's what it feels appropriate to me. So long, Cirie and Angelina. I feel like in terms of double boots, for the rest of the season, who knows? But I think this kind of makes sense that these are the 2 to go here, because typically when you have multiple people going out in a shorter amount of time and like try to pack it in one episode like this, they kind of want to paint it in a way so the people are a little bit under edited, or it's set up a little bit more obvious why they would get voted out previously, so that when it does happen, it's not too devastating, it's not too surprising, because you're already going to have a lot of emotions about losing multiple people. So it makes sense that these were the 2 people to go here. That it feels like it doesn't shake anything up. It's nothing too surprising or crazy based on the way the season's been going so far. So I feel like this was a well-edited episode and a well-edited lead up to this episode. I would have liked a little bit more Angelina, but just the way it's got to go. So we can hop all the way up to the top of the list and go down to the bottom, giving everyone an Edgic rating for the episode, starting with Colby. Colby gets 2 confessionals in this episode, one talking about being the oak-bound warrior that Coach declared him, and then also he gets this weird little confessional about how he kind of has a little foot injury, and that's why he's sitting out of the challenge, which I'll talk more about that when we talk about his contender rankings. But that was definitely a strange inclusion. There's been a lot of debate about what that means, so stay tuned for that. But in terms of Colby in this episode, he doesn't get a ton. I think I probably would go middle of the road with it, but we do hear repeated motif from him of he wants to play full tilt and he wants to play all the way to the end. That's pretty good. He seemed receptive to the coach thing. It's not a lot, but I feel like, honestly, I feel like that whole scene with the Oakbound Warrior and Stone Bell Monk and all that all felt pretty positive. So I feel like I want to give him a middle of the road positive here. It maybe could be neutral, but it felt like there was very swelling music, and it kind of that whole trio felt like, woo, this is awesome that they're coming together and forming these crazy nicknames, which I just love. I eat that stuff up. So I think the middle road positive 2, maybe, for Colby here. I mean, he doesn't get a ton. Yeah, I think middle of the road positive 2 is probably the right answer here. Stephenie. Let's take a look at Stephenie's confessionals. She only gets one confessional? Oh, she's surprised me. She has one confessional. She's like, I'm locked in with Ozzy because I know about his idol. And wow, I can't believe I'm in a good position. This is going great. So, I mean, it's pretty good. But, like, again, she's really being kind of underserved here on this tribe where she could be having a lot more going on. I don't know if it's enough to make me go under the radar, but it's low-key close. I think I'll probably just go with the middle of the road 2 again. I don't think there was really tone here for Stephenie. Yeah, not really. I don't think there was really much tone. You could maybe go under the radar, but yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about there. Cirie has a much better episode, bounces back a bit from last week. If we take a look here, Cirie gets only 2 confessionals, but I mean, definitely a decent presence here in this episode. She gets this alliance with Rizo. It's very positive. She's really happy about getting to work with the Rizgod. She's definitely talked up here. I'm trying to think if I would give this a positive or a neutral rating here. I don't think it was like a ton of positivity. Like, I think that, she gets called the most iconic player to never win, but like, she's always gonna get called that. I just think that, like, I don't know, with Cirie, it's just like, that doesn't surprise me. I'm not like that's just like her nickname basically at this point. So I don't know. I don't even know if it's really complex for Cirie. I'm actually really debating this here. We do hear about her appreciating Rizo and establishing the relationship with him. I don't know if it's quite enough to make me go complex, though. I feel like I'm getting stingier than I used to be. The heck with it. I'll give it a complex for now. But I'm not going to give it a positive rating, I think. I think I'll give it a complex personality 3. Maybe. Maybe that's ludicrous. That would be a terrible rating. I don't really know what to make of Cirie here. That's the best I got. Ozzy. Okay. Now, I got a lot to talk about. I'm going to kind of talk about Ozzy and Coach in conjunction here. So, I'm going to try to get Ozzy's rating out of the way first so that I can kind of talk about this whole thing. But this was definitely an interesting episode for Ozzy. I feel like there was a lot of negativity on Ozzy. But there is that little scene of him doing the meditation that felt positive. It was enough to redeem him, I think, from a negative rating. I think we're probably going to go... It could maybe even be over the top, but we still hear so much of his perspective and what he's thinking and whatnot. Like I kind of want to give him like an over the top negative, but I think I'm gonna give him a complex personality mixed. I think I'm gonna give it a 5. He got so much in this episode. He gets 9 confessionals, the most of the episode. Definitely felt like one of the main characters of the episode here. Now, I want to talk about Ozzy in relation to Coach. All season, I have been banging this drum that I think that Coach is getting a more positive and better edit than Ozzy. And people have argued with me. People said, no, Ozzy's clearly meant to be the main character in this relationship, or he's supposed to be like the rootable person between the two. And I disagreed. And finally, I feel like this episode, I have been so vindicated. It felt so obvious to me, the dynamic between these two in the season. Ozzy has spoken about how he wants to be new Ozzy and he wants to play a new game, and yet we have repeatedly heard time and time again, directly said to the camera in confessional by people, that Ozzy is playing the same way he used to. He's playing an old school game, and he's being the same whiny baby Ozzy he's always been and has not improved. This is literally being told to us. Rick Devens in the first episode says Ozzy's playing an old school game and it's going to come to bite him. Christian says in this episode, Ozzy is freaking out just like he did back on South Pacific. This is what he does. He calls him a baby. Christian calls Ozzy a prissy pants? Polly prissy pants. He calls him Polly prissy pants. So he's lucky he's getting the mixed rating here. But I feel like the narrative is so clearly being Ozzy wants to change or wants to play a new game, but he's not. Now, that doesn't mean he's not redeemable, right? He could improve, and maybe the story is he wasn't able to evolve in the pre-merge, but now that we're at the merge, he's figured out his wrongs and he is evolving and is playing the game he wants to play. But right now, I feel like he's kind of like the representation of this theme of the season of evolving. He's the representation of not being able to evolve, doing it unsuccessfully. I kind of see like a Russell Hantz style situation here of like not learning from the past mistakes and it coming back to bite him at some point. Maybe at the end, maybe not. We'll get to that. But compare that with Coach's edit, especially in this episode, which was very positive. It was this is Coach 4.0. This isn't the Dragon Slayer anymore. This is the Tidewalker now. I'm here building bonds. I'm here building real relationships. This is the real me. This is finally the real me. And we see him make these relationships, not just with the people he already had relationships with, but now even Aubry is coming to him and speaking positively about him and how he's playing this great game and he's in the middle of the tribe and he is evolving from his past mistakes. That has been the narrative for Coach all season, and I feel like it's finally clearly being telegraphed, and I hope that people can see that to me now, or hope that people can see that now and agree with me, because that definitely feels like the direction it's going in my opinion, and it could change. I do think Ozzy's not irredeemable based on the edit. I do think he does have a lot of complexity in his edit, and he could change and he could turn things around, but I feel like Coach 4.0 is being successful in his mission. Ozzy 5.0 is not. And that's the read that I have had on these two. I think Coach, especially in this episode, he gets so much. He talks about being, in this great spot. He talks about being the Tidewalker, which I gotta say, I love. Listen, I mean, obviously, I am biased. But I've been picking up on little subtleties in the edit that I feel like we're finally coming to very clear light tonight. So I hope that people see that now. But even with my bias, I love Coach. I love the whole scene with him giving everyone nicknames. I thought that was so much fun. I feel like this was a very complex episode for Coach. We hear a lot about him, his strategy, his relationships. I feel like this is absolutely a complex personality positive. I think 4 episode for Coach here. He gets a lot of content, a lot of focus, is clearly the main person on the Kahlo tribe. He was the main person on Old Kahlo, and he's still the main person on New Kahlo. So things are going well in the Coach boat, in my opinion. So much fun. I love all the coachisms, all the craziness, and I think that Coach 4.0, it's such a great evolution. I love getting to see this new version of him. I feel like he brings something new every season. Like Coach 1.0 was kind of this arrogant, pompous guy that was just like an enigma of a person, maybe a little bit villainous, villainous in the sake of being kind of like stubborn, I guess. Coach 2.0 was like total paradigm shift, very like sentimental and emotional, and they're kind of like just trying to figure things out as like this like shell being beat down from his first season and trying to figure out being a little bit more lighthearted and goofy and fun. Coach 3.0 was strategic coach. This was cutthroat coach. He's finally coming to play. He's playing hard, and he has a mission. And now here we are with Coach 4.0, which I feel like is like, this is Zen coach. This is chill, tide walker. He's hanging out. He's making relationships. And it feels like the wisest coach we've had so far. And I appreciate all the different evolutions of coach in every season. I feel like he's one of the very few people that have played so many times and have continually brought something very new and different every time, while still maintaining all of the aspects that we love about coach in the first place. So I'm loving coach this season. Moving on. That was a whole rant. Aubry. Oh, I didn't even say how many. Coach apparently only gets 2 confessionals, but I feel good about the 4 rating because he was in the episode a ton. Aubry gets 1 confessional. She has the scene talking about Coach. Honestly, like, I'm kind of willing to maybe give it a complex for Aubry. I mean, I don't think she shares like a ton, but I feel like we get the most from her of like her perspective of anyone on the Kahlo tribe besides Coach. So I kind of think, it could be middle of the road. Because, that whole tribe was mostly pretty middle of the road. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking like a complex personality 2 for Aubry. Or maybe a 3. I don't know. That's kind of just the instinct I'm having for it right now. I feel like this was maybe her most toneless episode yet, really. It was like a little bit positive, but not like super positive. It felt like it ended up reflecting more on Coach than did on her. So, I don't know. Not a whole lot there. Chrissy. Well, Chrissy, unfortunately, does get our goose egg again. Her second goose egg of the season. And really not a lot here for Chrissy. Unfortunately, I have to give her the invisible here. I feel like we just did not get anything from Chrissy. I believe she had 1 mention when Coach was just like listing out all the people he was aligned with. And then after that, just like nothing really. I don't think she spoke a word. Not a lot from Chrissy here, unfortunately. Christian. Come on. Christian, 6 confessionals. I believe 3rd most of the episode. So he's not the leader this time, like he has been, but still gets a lot more than most people. Still gets a ton of content. Still very complex. We still get so much from him. I do think like there was definitely some negativity being thrown from Ozzy, but I also think that Ozzy had a lot of negativity himself, and Christian threw it back. It's a very interesting, complex relationship, and I did go about that whole rant about how I think Ozzy is kind of getting the worst at it compared to the Coach rivalry. But Ozzy compared to Christian, I feel like it is much more elaborate and interesting here. I kind of feel like Christian, I would also give a complex personality mixed. Honestly, complex personality mixed 4, I think. He gets a lot again. We hear so much from him. We hear him talk about, the Cochran comparison, and he calls Ozzy a baby, and how I can't believe that Ozzy is wanting to flip on me because of something so minuscule, and all this kind of stuff. but I don't think it was enough to make me call it negative, especially since I feel like Christian is clearly supposed to be the more protagonist, hero, rootable character in the dynamic between him and Ozzy. And, you know, Ozzy throwing negativity Christian way doesn't faze me a whole lot. You know, it depends on who is saying the things. And I mean, even then, part of it was Christian's so impressive, and they talked about how, oh, he's so convincing, and he's a really good talker, and he's a great player. So, I mean, that's good, right? That's good content, too. So, I definitely think I'm going to go with the mixed tone here for Christian. Rick Devens. Let's take a look. Devens gets... Where the hell is Devens? Here, Rick. 3 confessionals. Wow, that's actually more than I expected. I feel like he's not like a major part of the episode. I feel like I've started to dole out a lot of complex personalities. Okay, here's what I think. I think we're going to change Aubry to a middle of the road. Because I feel like comparing the two, I feel like I get more from Rick. I feel like I get more understanding. It just kind of makes more sense to me. I feel like it's still not like a ton, but I do feel like we hear from his strategy and how he's trying to like kind of get in with the majority alliance. I don't think I would give it. I think I'm still gonna go middle of the road, but I feel like I'm just compared to Aubry. I was just kind of like, should she get complex if he's not? So I feel like I'd probably give him a middle of the road 2 or 3, maybe 3, just because he does go to tribal. He does get a lot early on in the episode, and he speaks a lot at tribal. You could argue it's a 2, but I don't know. That's definitely a tough one for me. Jonathan, kind of similar situation here with Jonathan. However, I feel like, I don't know. Maybe they're both middle of the road too, honestly. To heck with it. Let's give them both a middle of the road too. I feel like I don't get like a ton from either of them. We see them a lot at the beginning of the episode, and they kind of fade off after that, which we will talk about in the contender rankings. But yeah, I don't know. That's the best I got for them. Emily. Oh, let's check the confessionals. Jonathan only gets 1 confessional, so that makes sense. Actually, I mean, if Rick gets 3 and Jonathan only gets 1, maybe I leave Rick with the 3 and I leave Jonathan at 2. That feels appropriate to me. Emily shockingly only gets 1 confessional. It definitely felt like she was in the episode more than that to me. But I guess she didn't have any confessionals about the whole Ozzy one what up Christian thing. Maybe to hide that a little bit of subversion of what's actually going on. I kind of feel like I want to leave Emily similarly in the middle of the road range, although honestly maybe could lean positive because we kind of hear Ozzy talk about how he trusts Emily. They've had a weird relationship, but he does think that she's trustworthy. I don't know if it's enough to go positive, but it definitely felt you could maybe go there with Emily. D gets 2 confessionals. I feel like D had a pretty similar episode to Cirie. Honestly, pretty similar in terms of their relationship with Rizo, that alliance being established. I think I probably want to give her the same rating, honestly. Yeah, that's my gut check on it. We hear her call Charlie the dumbest player on the beach, which was very funny. We don't get to hear from her at Tribal, which I didn't love, but otherwise, yeah, that's what I'm feeling on it. Tiffany, goose egg. I do think better goose egg than she's had in the past, because at least we hear Aubry be like, "Oh, I like working with Tiffany," so that's something, at least she was mentioned. So I think I'm gonna give it under the radar 1. You can even give it on the radar positive, honestly, if you really wanted to. No, I don't think so. I don't think it is. On the radar one, he gets mentioned. Genevieve. Oh, wow. Genevieve. Same thing. Goose egg. Can you believe it? Where is she? Here she is. Goose egg again. Oh, gosh. That's killer. I don't love that. That makes me sad for Genevieve. I think I'd give her the same rating. I don't think it's invisible because we do see her at least say something to Aubry while they're laying down on the mat. I think she gets more than Tiffany, and if I give Tiffany on the radar one, then she should get one. But it's not a lot. Very, very under the radar here for Genevieve. Kamilla, finally, some Kamilla content. She gets some good stuff here. Kamilla gets 4 confessionals, shockingly. Here's the thing with Kamilla. She does get more, and she is painted more as of a pivotal vote than like Cirie and D. But I feel like we get less insight from her about her relationships in the alliance and wanting to move forward. Like, I feel like Cirie and D, we both hear like, yeah, I really like Rizo. I trust him for these reasons, and this is the plan. Whereas Kamilla, it's kind of just like, well, I could do this or I could do this. They're voting for each other, and I could go either way. I don't know. What am I going to do? I want to say this. Absolutely, it was very clear to me that Kamilla was going to vote out Charlie. They tried to make it seem like she would vote out Rizo in her confessionals, but I was like, she was so, like, the vibe was like, she's not taking this seriously. Like, that was very clearly the producers trying to get her to say a reason why she might vote out Rizo, but, like, she was not taking that very seriously. So I would give it to 3, whether it's a middle of the road 3 or complex personality 3. It's up to you. I don't have a ton of complex personalities at this point, so to heck with it. I'll give it the same rating as Cirie and D. all of that reasoning for why they were different just to give them the same rating. It is what it is. Joe, I feel like Joe, pretty much same thing as Colby here. I think I'm going to give a middle of the road positive 2. Pretty short. He gets 1 confessional. Again, talking about being the Stone Bell monk. Even shorter than Colby. Even less than him. But there was enough of Coach talking about Joe to, I think, give him like the middle of the road 2 here. Definitely positive based on that whole scene. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. Rizo, big episode for Rizo. I think I want to give him a complex personality mixed 5 for Rizo. It's almost positive, but then we get a little bit of like the kind of, hey, he's gloating a little bit too much, and he's a little bit cocky, right? And so, I mean, it was just kind of justification for giving a little bit of doubt that maybe he gets voted out at Tribal, but I never really, I was pretty sure that it was always going to be Charlie getting voted out. If you've been paying attention the whole season, this felt like when Charlie was going out, and the episode was like, this is clearly what's going to happen to me. I did find it strange that like the whole Tribal was about Rizo. I was like, this kind of feels like a send-off Tribal, but it was a fake-out send-off. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, Charlie throws him a bit of negativity, but there's still so much positive here for Rizo. Like he gets the same rating as Ozzy, but whereas Ozzy is like 1 point away from being negative, or Rizo is like 1 point away from being positive, right? It's like, whoop, like they're like on opposite ends of the spectrum there. Rizo gets so much in this episode, talking about his new alliance, his relationships with Cirie and D and Kamilla, and how he wants to play, and they trust him and they like him, and they're like kind of infatuated with him a little bit. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the rating where I'll go. This was a huge episode for the Rizgod. So, with all that said, let's move on to the contender rankings for the episode and give my quick thoughts on how each of them have been edited so far. Tiffany staying dead last. Well, hold on. Angelina and Charlie both always thought they weren't going to win. Very clear to me. Yeah, I mean, Angelina, she got moved up last week based on a guest, but I was pretty sure Angelina was getting voted out. So, yeah, it's the way it's got to go. Tiffany, dead last. She's got 3 goose eggs. That's horrible. Yeah, she's not winning. Chrissy is going to move down to second last. I was expecting to move Chrissy up this week, honestly. I was kind of surprised she was so low last week, but this was a bad week. She gets just nothing here at all. Double goose egg is really not a good look. Yeah, it's not looking great for Chrissy, unfortunately. Kamilla moves up a rung, kind of by default. I honestly didn't feel like it was that great of an episode for her. I felt like it was kind of like, yes, she got a lot of content, but it felt more about like adding intrigue to the tribal results rather than like adding intrigue to like her edit or her story, right? Kind of felt like more just in the moment type stuff for Kamilla. So yeah, it doesn't give me enough faith to think that she's really going to win. But I do think that, it's better, right? It's better. Moves her up 1 spot, at least. Now it starts to get interesting, because we have lost quite a few of these people that were, like, clearly out of it at this point. Well, maybe not quite a few, but a couple of them, at least. So I think Stephenie, I can't believe Stephenie is 4th from last at this point, but I think she has to be. I just really don't think Stephenie is winning. Like, she does have a good premiere, but all of her content since then has been pretty weak sauce, man. And especially when she could be very relevant and could have good content, good confessionals, more positive stuff, just anything at all. And she has continually been, like, basically the least relevant person on her tribe in the past 3 tribals, despite potentially could have having a much better edit than she is. So, yeah, I don't think there's any change there. The next couple are kind of tough. I think I leave Joe where he is. Yeah, I don't think it's a great edit for Joe. He's not been getting a ton. He definitely has gotten more positivity, but that episode 2 is a rough look for him. And yeah, overall, just not a lot going on there, I guess. I do think he could bounce back, but it kind of feels like he's just like a number in this group as of now. Like, whereas Coach and Colby, I feel like I'm getting much more, not like a ton of content, but like there's just more meat there. Whereas Joe is continually just kind of slid more and more each week from feeling relevant, I guess. I don't think it's impossible to bounce back, but yeah, probably not going to win. Cirie is also going to stay next. I also just don't think that this is the edit Cirie gets if she wins. I feel like she gets more than this, but it's not terrible. It was a good week for her. The goose egg last week wasn't great, but yeah, nothing really new to say about Cirie. I love her relationship with Rizgod. I think it's very funny, but yeah. This might be a shocker. I think I'm going to move Jonathan down to number 11. I just don't really think Jonathan's going to win. Those first 2 episodes were good for him, but since then it has been bones, man. And I do think that you could make an argument that this episode had a little bit of shielding for him, right? On the wrong side of the vote, didn't know what was going on. And yet, most of his content was kind of at the beginning of the episode about the status quo. And then when everything starts to flip, Charlie looks very bad in all of the chaos that went on later in the episode, whereas Jonathan is a little bit more in the background, right? And I think that is the same case for Devens, who we'll talk about in a bit. But I still think that like he's not been super relevant. I just think the path is slipping there for Jonathan. Um, I do think that like this could have been a shielding week, and he might bounce back with a huge force next week. It's very possible, but yeah, he's been on the least complex try both times, which isn't a great look. Uh, I'm not loving it for Jonathan. I think Aubry's next. I think that I feel better about her than Jonathan as of right now. Things are moving up. Does have established this thing with Coach, which I don't really feel like is much of a real thing, but it did get shown, which was interesting. Um, I don't know. I don't really know what to make of Aubry right now. We'll maybe talk about that in the predictions in the next segment, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of whatever, I guess, with Aubry. Nothing too new. D, I think, stays where she is. No, you know what? Fine. I'm going to make a little bit of a biased move for fun. I'm moving Ozzy down to number 9. That's my evil move. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty close. I mean, I do still think Ozzy has potential. I do think he could bounce back and he could evolve. But I've seen some people propose, is Ozzy losing finalist? I think that's not a bad edit right now. That's not a bad prediction. Where he's getting a lot right now early on, but it's kind of faulty, kind of showing how he's kind of good, but he's kind of bad. And it makes sense why he will go far, but why he would eventually lose. I wouldn't stake my bets on that right now, but I do feel like it's more likely that he loses at the end than he wins as of right now, because things are not looking great in the Ozzy train. Again, a lot of negativity, still some positivity there, which is strange and it's hard to make out. But to me, I feel like, we've had so much so many highlights of Ozzy's shortcomings and how he is failing, and not just from random people, from Christian, the main character, positive hero of the season, is saying that Ozzy is a poly prissy pants and a baby. That is a bad look. That is a really bad look, right? If Angelina were saying that, then who cares? It doesn't matter. But for Christian to be saying that about him, and for it to be so explicitly highlighted, it's not looking good. D's moving up to 8. It's biased. I love D. Why not? Move her up. I still don't feel super strongly D's going to win. I don't think her edit is that strong. But I also think her edit's not that different than Colby, who I'm higher on. So that's a plus for her. She establishes some good relationships this time. I don't think she gets a great content. It's mostly circumstantial, I guess, based on what's going on in this episode. But it's still pretty good. It's enough. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super high on D, and I think she could even move down a couple spots. I have mixed feelings on it, but there's a nugget of potential there, I guess. So, the next spot is kind of difficult to judge. I don't know. I'm real kind of concerned about this, and I kind of think I want to move Emily down back to 7 again. Well, I guess she's never been 7, but now she's 7. Just because I feel like these other people had better episodes. I have more good things to say here. Yeah, I kind of think that Emily has a shockingly low-key episode when I feel like she could have had more. But there is some positivity there from Ozzy. But there's also, she does get a lot of negativity. She's been such a character. I don't know. I don't know what to make of Emily right now. I think that this is maybe a bad move moving her so low. But her edit's been kind of all over the place, and I feel like some of these other people on upturns, whereas Emily had a kind of a downturn week. I don't know. Nothing huge to say about it, I guess, but that's what I think. I gotta punish the goose egg. Genevieve coming down to 6. You can't be in the top 5 with a goose egg. You gotta get punished for having the goose egg. And so Genevieve is getting punished down to number 6 for the week. Devens got punished last week out of the top 5 for having a goose egg, and Genevieve's doing the same here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, she could be below Emily. It's kind of a toss-up, but I still feel like she's had a very good edit up to this point, so it's enough to keep her high. Devens is going at 5. Things are not like great in the Devens camp, but kind of what I said about Jonathan. Maybe a little bit of shielding there. He gets a little bit more complexity and kind of intrigue here, I think, than like Jonathan does, that he's consistently had throughout the season. Don't love the goose egg last week, but, if any week you would have one last week was the time, technically. And I still think that all that setup that he got at the beginning is still really good. He was my number 1 coming off the first episode. So I want to bring him back up into the top 5 because I do still think there's a lot built up there for Devens. Although I'm not sure where he goes from here in the edit. We'll see. The Rizgod is moving up to number 4. Let's go. Let's go, Rizgod. Great week for Rizgod. I feel like I have been higher on Rizo than some people have. He's kind of been all over the place, but I felt really good about him in week 2. And then last week I was moving up on him. And this week was like really what I've been saying. I made a bold prediction, and honestly in previous weeks, honestly since the beginning, that I have really felt like Rizo was going far in this season. He was going to have a big edit. He's going to have a big story. He's going to be a big component in this season for a long time. And I feel like that's been the case. He's repeatedly talked about how he wants to be one of the greatest players in Survivor history. And he wants to do all this stuff, and he wants to conquer. And there's just been a lot there. He's had a lot of focus in these first 5 episodes, and I think he's going to continue to have that throughout the season. Now, I did have an interesting thought that I wanted to share about Rizo's edit. In that, I want to compare Rizo to Rizo in Survivor 49, because I talked about him extensively, last season on this channel, analyzing his edit every week. And I have 2 things two thoughts I had about that. One is that Rizo, I feel like on Survivor 50, is getting the edit that I wanted and expected from him on Survivor 49. I feel like I came on here every week in Survivor 49 and kept talking about how kind of disappointed I was in Rizo's edit. I felt like he wasn't getting that strong of an edit. He had a good premiere and then kind of completely fell off after that and was kind of a non-entity in the rest of the pre-merge. And then he starts to get oh, I'm controlling the vote content at the merge, but it never felt all that substantial, and I never really had him very high. Honestly, this is the best I have felt about Rizo's winner chances ever. Since I started Survivor 49, this is the first time I'm like, he could actually pull this thing off. Whereas, I never seriously considered Rizo a contender in Survivor 49 based on the edit. I think he was playing a great game. I think you could argue he played the best game of the season. But I never really, here, I can go back and look at my contender rankings. Here's the contender rankings for Survivor 49. He's kind of low. He's up at 5, 6, 5, and he ends up in the top 3 kind of by default towards the end because it was so clear that a Trace Leche Alliance member was going to win way more than everyone else who had just absolutely terrible edits. But I still he gets second one time above Sophie somehow. But really, it was always Savannah or Sophie, and even then I felt like Nate had a better edit than him. So Alex, I felt like, his edit fell off, but like I just never really seriously considered Rizzo a contender, I guess. And this time I feel like on Survivor 50, I am considering it. So I'm excited to see where Rizzo goes. My other thought I had about Rizzo compared to Survivor 49 is that I constantly complained about, and other people complained about, that I felt like his relationship with Savannah was very kind of underutilized on that season. It felt like there was not a lot of setup for it, especially since, people that knew that those were going to be the two people that were on 50. So we kind of expected their relationship to be highlighted more, especially since as the season went along and we kind of got towards the end game, it became very clear that they were very close, allies, very good friends, and were kind of a dynamic duo, or at least a dynamic trio with Sophie. And so it was like very strange that we didn't really get a ton of those two interacting really at all in the pre-merge, even though they were on every tribe together and were pretty much always aligned. So, that was such a strange thing on that season, and it kind of made me wonder, thinking about right now in this season, did they actually downplay that to make him and Sophie seem closer, to set up this storyline that he didn't vote for his number one, that was Sophie, on this last season, to set up the whole thing with Charlie for this season? I feel like everyone's been thinking, oh, Rizzo's lying, Charlie's believing a lie that he was so close with Savannah. But Sophie B did post a clip that that Rizzo did say at one point on last season that he considered Sophie his number one, straight out of the man's mouth. And his relationship with Savannah was shockingly downplayed, at least early on in the season. It does make me wonder, like, were they planning to paint this narrative with Charlie on this season? Because they knew what was going to happen. So maybe they thought it was more important to kind of highlight his relationship with Sophie. Even though I still think people still walk away from the season thinking, oh, it's Rizzo and Savannah, especially since they're the two on this season, right? And they were on the same starting tribe. But, I don't know. I thought there was an interesting through line I thought of compared to last season Edgic analysis and this season, that maybe that was all set up for this storyline. Coach is going at number 3. Let's go, Coach train. I feel like all y'all doubters are being proven wrong. The Coach edit is flourishing. My biggest complaint was that he was on the least complex starting tribe, but he's on a decently complex second tribe. Post-swap. Clearly the main person on both tribes he's been on. He's been showcased to be playing a good game. We've heard Coach 4.0 as a repeated mantra. We have heard about this Tide Walker thing, which feels really big and important. I've always felt like Coach is going to be sticking around for a while. He gets a great shot in the intro sequence. He just has a lot. I feel like there's a lot going for Coach. And all y'all doubters, I see you. Is it bias? Maybe. But who cares? I'll admit the bias. I freaking love Coach. And I think this edit is the most positive and good edit we've ever gotten for Coach. I'll say, I gave Coach a complex personality positive this week. Has he ever gotten that before? Maybe. He very well could have. Probably on Heroes vs. Villains. Maybe a little bit on South Pacific. I don't know. But like, that's not common for Coach, right? That's a big deal. That's the edit I feel like he's getting. So I think that Coach could pull this thing off. He's playing a great game so far. Colby is staying at number 2. Colby has a repeated mantra that is repeated this week and been repeated in the past of wants to play full tilt and he wants to take this thing all the way to the end. And he said that multiple times, and we hear it again this time. It's a great mantra. Perfect thing to repeat repeatedly throughout the season. I want to play hard, and I want to go to the end of the game. Hell yeah, that's what you want to hear from a winner. It is still low key, but it's still been positive. It's been consistent. It's not really been enough for me to knock him. Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit underexposed, but he's never been a tribal, so it's hard to criticize that too much. I think that, once he goes to tribal, if he's still not getting anything, then he could definitely fall lower on the list. But he doesn't really have holes in the way that other people have potential pitfalls. The only actual pitfall I see in Colby's edit is the fact that he's a little bit underexposed, but it's not that surprising based on who he is, not that surprising based on his position in the game and the tribes he's been on. He hasn't been a tribal. I don't know. I just think it's been consistent with Colby. He also gets this confessional where he talks about, oh, I've got this foot injury and I got to sit out of the challenge and it's been bothering me or whatever. Which people, the Edgic community has been going crazy about that confessional because it's so strange. It's like, why are we hearing this? We never hear about this. We never get a reason why someone sits out of a challenge. It doesn't matter. And really, there's two lanes of thought, right? The negative is, could this be leading to Colby getting medically evacuated? Which I extremely doubt. I feel like if that were the case, it would have been more important. It would have been brought up probably before that point. It would have been a bigger deal. I doubt it. It's possible, but it doesn't really feel like that it's been set up that much, right? And also, I feel like that's the only possible downside to it. Like, there's no other downside other than he literally gets medically evacuated, right? But in terms of positives, it's giving him another confessional. It's highlighting him when they didn't need to highlight him. It's keeping him relevant, keeping him as kind of a decent main character here. And I think it's kind of like an excuse for maybe why he doesn't do good in challenges moving forward. It also showcases him as a team player. He says, I got to do what's best for the team or whatever. So showcasing him as a team player, working well with other people, that's another plus for the positives we've seen with Colby so far. And it kind of gives him an excuse to not have the Superman in a fat suit moniker applied to him like he did on Heroes versus Villains. Whereas, now he has a reason why he's not maybe winning every immunity, right? That excuses it away. So when he is winning at the end and people are like, oh, but he didn't win any immunities, he can just be like, I'm sorry I couldn't. I had a foot injury, but I played full tilt nonetheless. And there you go. Excuse given away. Is that extrapolating a lot out of nothing? Probably. But I saw someone say that it's a bit of a Rorschach test. If you were low on Colby, then it justifies it. If you were already high on Colby, it justifies that. I was high on Colby, so I find a way to fit it into my viewpoint, my world perspective. I don't know. It might just mean nothing at all, but it could be good for him. And Christian stays at number 1. I've repeatedly said Christian's edit is so good. Yes, it's overexposed, but it's season 50. If anyone's going to have an overexposed coronation edit on any season, this is the season. Also, think about the last example season we have for Winner's Edit, which was Survivor 49, which was one of the most overexposed and obvious Winner's Edits we've had in a very, very long time, right? The most screen time a winner has got in ages. So if that's the most recent example we have to go off of, then, go look at the trend. Now, obviously, Savannah was, kind of more negatively painted than Christian. They're not the same character. But if you want some evidence, I feel like Kyle and Rachel had a lot of parallels. If you want a parallel to season 49, the answer is Christian. Way overexposed, getting a lot of strategic content. We might never get to see what Christian looks like not going to tribal, which is kind of unfortunate because that would have been useful info. But that's just the way it is right now. So nothing really new to say that I haven't already said in the video. But 11 Christian, 11 the season. Good episode. As for my predictions for next week, it's tough to say because I feel like who knows what's going on. They're going to merge apparently with 17 people. Jeff also says they're going to change the game forever or something like that. So there's going to be some kind of twist that we can't possibly see coming and have no idea what's going to happen. So I don't really know how the hell to predict that. There's not really any clean way to do so. I did notice, I don't think this matters at all, that Jeff says when he takes Kahlo's flint, or not Kahlo, Sila's flint at the challenge, he says, I'm going to take your flint and you can earn it back at the next tribal immunity challenge. But then supposedly there's no more tribal immunity challenges. So it's like, it's a strange thing to say when you know that the merge is coming next. But it's probably nothing, because it probably just says that every time, because you can't let them know that the merge is coming next, right? So I'm like 99% sure that means nothing. I just noticed that. I thought that was interesting. I want to bring it up. I think it's very likely we're going to get like a lot of boots, maybe a triple boot next week. They might like split them into 3 tribals. Could be like some kind of like top 2 vote getter situation. There's so much. Who possibly can know what happens? In terms of like anyone I would predict to go out, I don't know. I think there's so many options. I think like the best bets are just people that feel like they've already had a lot of build up for it. Like, I think like Aubry would be a very easy merge boot, because there seems to be a lot of people kind of out to get her. A lot of people want her gone. She's going to have some people stick up for her. I guess Tiffany, probably like Christian. Honestly, Christian should want to vote her out, because then he gets an idol all to himself. So like, yeah, I don't super feel it. I don't feel like that's likely the case. I do think it's more possible that she gets blindsided with the idol in her pocket now with a whole bunch of people than it was previously, where it felt like she obviously knew she was on the bottom and she was going to probably play it. So that's maybe better for Genevieve, but like, I mean, it's still possible that like, you know, could turn back on Genevieve. I don't think so, especially since she got no content this week. I think that, you know, I would be surprised if she goes out next week. So, yeah, I don't know about that. I think like Ozzy, I think has probably too much going on. He's probably going to stick around for a while. But I also feel like there's been a lot of setup, and I feel like not a lot of people are going to want to keep him around. I think Christian is completely done with him. Coach, we know, is really going to want him out, and Coach has got a lot of shooters for him right now. You know, Ozzy has the benefit of having Cirie Fields on his side, which is big, but I still think he's going to have a lot of people that really want him gone at this point. So I don't think he's getting voted out, but I also think like it would make a lot of sense for him to be the boot next week. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, could it be an easy boot on like Tiffany or Chrissy or Kamilla, who are like the 3 people that clearly are not getting very good content? Maybe. But I don't know how that happens. But it's possible. It's tough to say. Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, I feel like Aubry, Genevieve, Ozzy are kind of the easy guesses here. But also, like that's been the case always. So that's not nothing new to be interested in, I guess. So who knows? I don't really know what to make of it. What's going on with next week? Those are my best guesses for who could be going out next week. Otherwise, Tiffany. I've been saying Tiffany, so it could be Tiffany. And that's all I got. Yeah, I don't even know when the merge is. Well, we know when the merge is. We don't know when the jury starts. We don't know how the tribe's going to go. So that's pretty much it. But yeah, good episode, good week. I think I've said everything I want to say pretty much. And I'm enjoying the season, enjoying to talk about it with you guys. If you have made it through this far, I do want to say that, a bit of a soft launch here at the end of the video, that I have turned on memberships on my channel. So you can go check those out if you're interested. There are 3 different tiers if you wanted to subscribe to become a member of the channel. It would be super useful. Supports me, supports the channel, helps me keep making these videos every week and spending time with you guys, replying to people and whatnot. If you're on the highest tier, I plan to start doing some live streams commonly, where I want to review like the Reddit pages, both the Survivor Reddit page and the Edgic Reddit page, kind of give my thoughts on popular posts and popular analyses that are going on there, and also answer questions from the audience. If you have questions for me, either like on a voice call or just send me a message of a question about Edgic, about reality TV, about just anything at all. So yeah, if you're on the high end tier of the memberships, you will have access to those live streams when those start going. If you're on the lower tier, you know, I'll give you a shout out, you know, at the end of videos to all my members. Just would really appreciate it. You don't need to, not necessarily at all, but just figured I'd let you know that I turn that on, and I really would appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching. Super fun going to talk about the season. I'll probably talk more about all that stuff in the future. But I just wanted to let you know, soft launch for now. So otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Come back next week, click that subscribe button and the bell if you want to see my analysis of the merge episode and the Edgic of the season moving forward. And I will see you all next time. I've been North. Stay frosty, y'all.